Over the years, I'm sure all of us have been entertained by the great Gordon Ramsay a time or two.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
However, today I set forth to find out how good his recipes really are. We'll be recreating his steak sandwich and giving him a rating 0 through 10. And if his food really blows us away, we shall award him with a new wrinkle on his forehead. And as always, there is no time to waste. Now let's go! This recipe starts the way most of Gordon Ramsay's recipes start. And that's with a big old piece of beef tenderloin, and this one is the center cut piece. Starting here with a little bit of kosher salt, and we're just gonna season it up. And as Gordon likes to do, we get it around the steak as well as on it. Little bit of Sergeant Gilbert reporting for duty. That's fine ground black pepper, same deal. And in his video, he does large chunks of pepper. My problem with large chunks of pepper is it literally lifts the meat off the pan and you lose that amazing sear, which I've pointed out before, but you know what? We're gonna take Gordon's advice. I'm going a little bit bigger on it here today. And now we take our beef and roll it side to side and get that bottom edge to get this thing crusted up nicely all the way around. There we go, it looks nice to me. Let's cook this thing. And I'm just getting a pan on medium-high heat for the searing of this beef. And as always, when you're searing meat, let that pan heat up for a couple minutes before adding the oil, before adding the steak. You don't want to add everything at the same time. You're not going to get a great sear that way. And a great sear is great color is great flavor. And now we're adding olive oil, which isn't an oil I usually sear steaks in, but if Gordon said to do it, I'll do it. I'll do it for you, Gordon. Once the oil is nice and smoky, we're going to go ahead and place in our beef tenderloin right here in the back corner. And as Gordon recommends, we'll tilt the pan and let the tenderloin sear there in the corner. And I'm just rolling it now to a new side, keeping it in that corner, and just turning it every 90 seconds or so. Pan, hot, on, nice. Olive oil in. You donuts. Gordon Ramsay actually called me a donut. I don't know if you guys saw that TikTok. I made a really great dish for him and he actually had a lot of nice things to say about it until I did something weird with the carrots, which he didn't like. However, afterwards, the Washington Post contacted me and I got to defend my carrots, all right, which felt pretty good. I'm just doing the final edge on our steak here. It's been in the pan for 4 or 5 minutes is all. I'm gonna put in a touch more olive oil and a whole head of garlic just cut in half right here. We're gonna drop that in, let that sear up a little bit. And now the next thing Gordon does is take some thyme here and let it pop and crackle. I love that sound. We let it pop in the oil a little bit so it can release its flavor. I'll sear either end really quick just to kind of seal that off. And then we place it over the thyme and the garlic, just like so. Let's see if we can get it to balance. Before going in the oven, the last thing we need to do is add a little bit of unsalted butter into the pan. And when that's all brown and foaming, we'll go ahead and start basting our steak. Just a minute of basting. Gordon's next instructions are to bake this thing for 8 to 10 minutes. I don't think he specified a temperature, but I'm just gonna go for the classic 400 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 205 Celsius. I don't see how it's gonna be done in 8 to 10 minutes, but we will temp it at that time and see where it's at. In it goes. While the tenderloin cooks in the oven, we're gonna make the relish that is the topping for this steak sandwich. And it's the element that will bring all that delicious and needed acidity to the fatty steak. Starting with a red onion here, we're just gonna dice this up. Very, very simple. Take a little bit off the bottom here. Peel as many layers as is necessary. And we'll just go like this, straight through. You can do it as big or as small as you like. I'm doing about a medium dice here. We'll go through here, maybe one little one in the top. And from there, we'll just blast out these nice little cubes, like so. Next, some Fresno chili. I'll just take the top off of those and I'll take out a little bit of these seeds here, but some in there is okay. I just want to get out that big piece. And from here, we're just going to slice it up into rings. We're going to do a few of those. And the last ingredient is some cherry tomatoes. Here, I just have sugar bomb tomatoes. These are the only tomatoes I kind of eat in the winter time. In the summer, you can find great tomatoes everywhere, right? But in the winter, these are the only ones that are sweet and delicious. They're just called sugar bombs and most supermarkets carry these nowadays. At least I see them everywhere here in Austin, Texas. Here's a great trick you can use for cutting in half a bunch of small tomatoes like cherry or grape tomato varieties. Take 2 quart container lids. We just set a lid down so that the top is facing upwards. Put in all your tomatoes. If you can find ones that are a little bit similar in size, that is helpful. Like do all the bigger ones first and then all the smaller ones second. Stuff them full. Another lid on top, but upside down like that so the top is facing down. And you get your knife in and just slice right through. And you've just perfectly halved all your tomatoes in one go. Really saves a ton of time and actually does a perfect job. Delicious. Okay, there we go, my friends. It's been 10 minutes. Let's see where our beef is at. Let's see, Gordon, really, was it done after 10 minutes? It's 80 degrees inside. I want to pull this thing around 125 for a nice medium rare. So obviously 10 minutes is not going to do it, but while I have it out, always be a good idea to keep turning the meat to help it cook evenly. And we might as well baste it up a little bit. And back into the oven it goes. I'll give you the time when it comes out. And here we are. That's been in the oven for another 13 minutes for a total cook time of around 23 minutes. Now I just temped it. It's right around that 125 mark. At this point, I'll go ahead and remove this. And as Gordon says, we'll baste it one more time with all these delicious little juices. I got no problem with that. That looks awesome. And about the resting, Gordon says...
Just coming up to mid-rare, let it rest the same time you cooked it. It'll be nice and pink.
Which I'm gonna take his advice and do, but I've always learned to rest something half as long as you cooked it. However, we will take Gordon's advice and let this thing rest for a full 20 minutes. While the tenderloin rests, I'm just bringing this pan up to medium-high heat so we can finish the relish. And again, with the olive oil, Gordon loves his olive oil. I'll tell you what, for a guy who trained in all French restaurants, he sure does love olive oil. It's just luscious. Olive oil in, silky smooth, yes, right. Olive oil's nice and hot. We're starting with the onions and our chilies. I'll just season that up nicely and toss. Oh, silky, luscious. Keeping that heat really high. Ugh. The chilies are getting to us in here. There's no exhaust. Our red onions and chilies have been going for about 6 minutes. We're adding now all our tomatoes. Woo! We're maintaining that really high heat and just letting these tomatoes kind of break down now and blister in the pan. The tomatoes have been cooking down for 5 minutes. I'm just now helping them along by smashing them with a little wooden utensil here, as Grandfather Gordon says. I know I've been ripping on Gordon a little bit in this video, but all jokes aside, a huge amount of respect for Gordon and what he's done in his life. He is an incredible chef. Let's not get it twisted. Having said that, he is fun to make fun of. And by the end of the video, if this steak sandwich is really amazing, we are gonna give Gordon Ramsay a new wrinkle on his forehead. That is the rating system. Well, that along with a point rating. The tomatoes are now nicely broken down. The last thing he adds is a little bit of sherry vinegar. If you don't have sherry, you could try this with another vinegar that you do have. However, I'm gonna use a little sherry in. At this point, he says to turn that heat down to low, and we'll let this stew in its own juices for a couple minutes. And all good, we're gonna shut down the heat, and the last thing we add is basil. I just roughly slice that up, and with the heat off, I'll just let that basil wilt into the relish, and out we go into a container, and we'll just let this cool slightly. Otherwise, it's absolutely ready for the steak sandwich. This is very exciting because I actually haven't tried a lot of Gordon Ramsay's recipes. I've done a few, but let's see how his relish is, right? We're just gonna try this on its own. It's quite a big bite for just relish, but I really wanna get the full experience. Ooh, it's absolutely delicious. The sweetness from the tomatoes, the acidity from the vinegar, the spice from the chilies, the little floral element from the basil. That's really good, and it's gonna be amazing with the steak. Wow. Oh, who put a horse out there? The last thing we need to do is make Gordon's very complicated mayo mustard. It's not complicated, it's actually super, super easy. Here's how you make it. Really easy, we're just starting with some mayonnaise, as well as some whole grain mustard. And his ratio is 3 tablespoons of mayonnaise to 3 teaspoons of mustard, so I'll do something roughly about that. Give it a mix and you're done. For the bread, Gordon has chose ciabatta. But when he made his sandwich, he sliced it across like this. We're not making sandwiches for children, or maybe we are, but that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So this is the one thing I'm gonna do different about this recipe. I don't want a sandwich with a little tiny bullshit slice of bread, right? So I'm just gonna trim it up, and then I'm gonna cut a big piece like this and just slice this one directly in half like so. That's just a better shape for a sandwich in my opinion, as opposed to slicing like this, but I don't know, to each their own. And with the bread, all we're gonna do is lay it out here and hit it with more olive oil. Surprise, surprise, right? Boom, boom, boom. I like to go generous with this. And he uses a grill pan, so that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I've just got that heat on a sort of medium high. I'll put my bread in and then put a good amount of pressure on the back just to make sure it gets a good contact, and then I can release my hands and just let that roll. There we go, and once our bread is nice and toasty and a little bit charred like this, we'll go ahead and get it out of the pan. Our beef here has been resting for about 25 minutes. We did the full experience on the resting. Let's go ahead and slice in. Wow. This looks absolutely glorious. That full rest definitely had a good effect. Very nice, very nice. Could not be better. Okay, let's build this sandwich, starting with the mustard mayonnaise. Very simple, very simple. Next, Gordon uses butter lettuce. I am absolutely 100% with Gordon on that one. Awesome lettuce. And then our beef here goes on the bottom piece of bread. I'll do 4 nice huge slices. And of course, our relish right here on top of the beef. Good amount. I feel like with this amount of beef, it can take it. And we'll go ahead and cap this thing, and we are ready to eat, my friends. Okay, Gordon, Mr. Gordon, let's try your steak sandwich. 32 million views on YouTube. Okay, it's delicious. Is it the best steak sandwich I've ever had in my life? No. Is it still really good? Yes. I love the sweet, sour, and spicy relish. That is definitely my favorite part of this steak sandwich. After all the steak sandwiches I've eaten in my life, I would have to give this, I'm gonna be really fair, it's an 8.1 out of 10. It's a really good steak sandwich. But the real question is, does Gordon deserve a wrinkle for this one? And I say yes, absolutely, he deserves a wrinkle for this. So let's put one on the old forehead. Now, Marcus, I gotta see what you think, man. Get in here and try this. Let's see what Marcus's consensus is. It's not hot, so he can't burn his mouth.
8-1's good.
Right? 8-1's fair.
I love the olive oil.
You like the relish? It's good, right?
Yeah.
Like spicy?
That's
a little
the best
bit.
part. Make it.
Until next time, you know I love you and I'm out!